Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Neil, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. We're going to start with a question from housekeeping that follows on from the pre-show. So if you're watching this on one of the uncut and after shows, this will make perfect sense why we're starting with this question. But any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? That is, before everyone jumps in, an assertion that we have two reference frames, an inertial reference frame with objects either hovering like a drone can hover in the air, or moving in a straight path like a missile or an aeroplane, or a ball that you might throw, and a non-inertial turning reference frame that would be Earth turning beneath those things to cause them to seem to drift. That would be the ball seeming to move in a curved path when actually it's travelling straight, or the missile seeming to go in a curved path but actually going straight, or the drone seeming to go in a curved path when actually it's hovering. Now, those are effects that are claimed to happen because Earth turns beneath things, inducing this not actual deflection called Coriolis effect. Is there any actual evidence that we have a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to prove we have axial rotation? John, don't jump in yet.
Well, the claim is there because there's 15-degree movement of the sun. Now, that's the claim that the Earth is moving to cause that visual of the sun moving. But it's not the sun moving, we're moving. That's the claim. Now, the evidence, well, that's what we're asking for. It would certainly show up. If it shows up under a bullet, if it shows up under a field goal, a pendulum, any other little things that they want to use, and it's got to show up with anything not attached to the Earth as well, like a hot air balloon, helicopter, or airplane, but it doesn't.
I was just going to say they still claim the pendulum. Talk to, what's his name? Danik. He'll still bring up the pendulum. That's lock solid proof.
Okay, should we cover that? Any objection? No. So the pendulum claims precisely that we have a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum. So, to break this down, pendulums have an inherent property that they move back and forth, only back and forth. They don't drift. So why would it be that you would see something seeming to drift? It's knocking over the dominoes. Well, it's claimed Earth turning beneath it causes that deflection. It's not an actual deflection. It's merely that you're standing on ground that's turning beneath the back and forth motion of the pendulum. Thank you very much, whoever it is that's just put that up. Is it Adam, presumably? Thank you. So, we've got a back and forth motion with an apparent deflection causing the dominoes to be knocked over. So that's Earth turning beneath the pendulum. We all clear? I'm going to distinguish this now as saying this is a globe claim. The globe claims Earth turns beneath. Okay? So, bearing that in mind, Earth as a non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath the back and forth motion of this pendulum would mean that we observe things seem to drift from the ground because Earth's turning beneath them, like it turns beneath the pendulum. Well, that would mean that a helicopter launches and hovers above the ground, and while you watch it, it drifts away at 15 degrees an hour while it hovers. Now, it's not that helicopters that are hovering are attempting to fly away from you. They're not. But according to this claim, helicopters will drift away at 15 degrees an hour. So if you're a helicopter pilot, you just need to go up about 100 feet, or whatever you need to go up to clear any buildings, hover for a couple of hours, and the next country along will come to you. Right? That's how helicopters work. They just hover, and the ground turns beneath them. Correct, Neil? I don't know.
Correct.
I'm getting a sandwich.
No,
Yeah.
I was doing something. Correct, yes.
Right. Well, that doesn't happen. Likewise, nobody launches a drone on the equator and watches it fly away, or seem to fly away, while it hovers, as the ground turns beneath it. Okay, so now we've made that distinction. Thank you, whoever's presenting the pendulum motion. Perfect. Wonderful. Excellent timing. So, let's move on to what we have as a rebuttal from the globe side. If anybody wants to pipe up and take my place as the glober and playing both sides at the moment, they would assert that no, it won't affect a helicopter, because gas, which is completely unbonded and has elastic collisions, actually is attached to the ground. It all moves with the ground that I assume is spinning. Now, this is an anti-flat Earth argument, explaining why we don't see the effect of Coriolis drift. We don't see things drifting away because blah, 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 blah. Well, if we don't see things drifting away, we don't have the globe claim, as opposed to the anti-flat Earth response to our debunking of it, that we have drift at 15 degrees an hour. So, to summarise, the globe claims 15 degrees an hour of drift because Earth turns beneath stuff. The anti-flat Earth claim, we won't see 15 degrees an hour drift because Earth is assumed to be spinning with the atmosphere that's unbonded, so that we have absolutely no demonstrable effect to observe at all. That's the distinction between an anti-flat earther who will argue about why we don't see drift, and a glober who claims that we do, only to have us crap all over it by pointing out that aeroplanes would have their flight times reduced if Earth was turning beneath them. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Los Angeles would take about an hour and a half, because Earth would be turning beneath it. For you to observe it seem to drift from the ground. That's Coriolis effect, the claim we spin. And because it doesn't, it takes about 4.5 hours, we'll have an argument telling us how we assume Earth spins with atmosphere that's unbonded. That's why the flight time's unaffected, and we won't see it drift from the ground. We won't observe 15 degrees of Coriolis to prove we spin, said the anti-flat earther. Hope that's been summarised well enough for any newbie to follow along. It is a complicated subject after all.
Can I give my just so story baller, not anti-flat earther rebuttal?
Absolutely, Alwyn, feel free.
Cool. Right. So, yeah, you're mistaken because you claim there's only 2 reference frames. That's wrong. There is more reference frame than we can find out. But what we do know is that it's not just the Earth is spinning, right? It's also spinning around the sun, and the sun is spinning around the axis of the galaxy, and the axis is probably spinning around some super galaxy, and who knows what that is spinning around. So we have more reference frames than we can count, not just 2.
The old infinite reference frames nonsense. Yeah, you need 2 for Coriolis, though. Specifically for Coriolis effect, it's non-inertial and inertial reference frames.
Maybe the Globers and the anti-flat earthers should start debating each other.
Yeah.
I do that
on the same page.
I do that. I do that in chat. So when someone comes in and asserts one side of the position, I'll string them along as I can till another person comes in that doesn't notice what's happening and then asserts the complete antithesis of their position. It often happens with Coriolis, and I tell them, you need to set chat member A straight then. They're telling me we wouldn't expect to see drift. And you're thanking Bob Nodell for the 15 degrees an hour drift that we see because Earth turns beneath the gyro. This guy's telling us we wouldn't expect to see drift. How Earth and atmosphere move together? Maybe you two need to sort this out amongst yourselves. That's what I'll do in the chats.
Well, you could always go with the guy who said, well, let me show it to you by explaining what happens on an enclosed train.
Single reference frame. So when they start exampling what happens on an aeroplane or a train when you throw a bullet back and forth, a ball, throw a bullet back and forth, I suppose it'd still work. And they say, well, look, they're throwing it back and forth, but because it's all sealed up in the plane, nothing's happening. There's two problems with that for the fundy globe believer that they think that they are when they're actually anti-flat Earth. Number one, so you're saying that Earth and its air is all sealed up like an aeroplane. All right, so how do you get to space? It's sealed up, right? For it to all be travelling as one? That's the first problem. The second problem is it's a single reference frame. So no non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath that reference frame to cause not actual deflection then. An argument for why we don't see any drift. No one's observing any. We wouldn't expect to see any. Well, that kind of craps all over your claim that we see 15 degrees an hour of it, and why would you be thanking Bob for it if we're not expecting to see it, anti-flat earther? We've got globe heads who think Bob's proved it, because they're claiming Earth turns beneath the gyro, and yet you're telling me we wouldn't expect to see it because Earth violates the first law of thermodynamics and has the atmosphere spinning at quicker rates higher up, increasing its energy, and all sealed up like in an aeroplane. Yeah, this has got lots of problems now, hasn't it? I think the response to that should be to tell me that all of these reference frames I've detailed as a flat earther are ruined.
It's funny that they thank Bob, but they throw Smoke in the Grass Tyson under the bus. What's going on there?
Yeah, because Bob Nodell is the anti-flat earth guru in terms of their assertion that he's proven something that the globe claims, so they can later go on to defend how they don't actually observe it and we wouldn't expect to see it. But they love thanking him. Meanwhile, Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to come up in conversation because he's actually making the assertion, and on their side, punting the heliocentric rhetoric of Earth turning beneath stuff, in his case, a football. Well, they're no different. The examples are the same. Earth turning beneath the gyro, Earth turning beneath a football. It's no different. It's Coriolis drift that they're both describing. But they'd rather throw Neil deGrasse Tyson under the bus because we use him as a hostile witness. Neil deGrasse Tyson says you see apparent deflection because Earth turned beneath this football to cause it to go through the goal. That's Earth turning beneath the football. So Earth's going to turn beneath helicopters and drones and anything else that's left the ground for us to see it drift away. No, drone's got a motor. It doesn't make any difference, anti-flat earther, because a drone having a motor doesn't change this not actual deflection. It's nothing to do with its actual course and everything to do with you turning beneath it, observing it. So to see it, you've got to turn beneath it. And if we don't see it, we're not turning beneath it now, are we? Your reference frames are ruined, flat earther. Yeah, I don't have any. You do, and we've ruined them.
I have to correct you again on the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. They didn't throw him under the bus. No, he actually accidentally stumbled underneath the bus because of Coriolis deviation.
Not at all. He's punting the standard heliocentric rhetoric. I did some quick maths. Where did he get the quick maths from? Well, he calculated the rate of turn of Earth as a sphere underneath an inertial reference frame. He's calculating Earth as a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath the ball travelling through the inertial reference frame, and the rate of deflection that he can observe from the stands as he watches it curve through the goal. That's Earth turning beneath the ball. Absolutely and unequivocally in line with the heliocentric rhetoric that Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis deflection. Only capable of observation from the ground. Nothing to do with the trajectory of the path of the thing you're observing, and everything to do with the apparent path because you're turning beneath it. Like the apparent path of a tree limb over the top of a roundabout. You look at it from the roundabout, it looks like it's coming towards you and going away. It doesn't have an actual path, it's a tree. But looks like it's coming towards you and going away because you're turning beneath it. That's Coriolis. So therefore, you're turning beneath the ball as it curves through the goal, says Neil deGrasse Tyson, in line with the rhetoric. Big problem when you point out that Earth ain't turning underneath aeroplanes or hot air balloons or drones or helicopters or anything that's in the air for a substantial period of time, and you would think would be your go-to to prove that it is. Oh, look, this is in the air for only an hour and a half as it travels from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, because Earth's turning beneath it. That's why when you look at the plane, it looks like it's curving. It's not actually curving. It's just we're turning beneath it. Said nobody ever. It doesn't happen. We don't observe drift. That flight takes 4.5 hours, not an hour and a half. Earth isn't turning beneath Jack.
Can I attack the axial rotation claim?
Yes, this is where I wanted to... I forgot, and I'm glad you've butted in at the right moment. Can you round this out beautifully for the cherry on top? Go ahead, father of a stolen child.
Well, everything that we just talked about is sort of begging the question that there is an axis to be a non-inertial reference frame. We need a measured R value before we can have an axis. So we'll need that first.
Perfect. So at the beginning of this, largely a diatribe from me, but this discussion about axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, aka the claim Earth spins, I told father of a stolen child, not now at the beginning of that discussion, because it's required that we assume we've got a radius value to calculate this 15 degrees an hour of rotation with now. And we've debunked R. Any evidence of the R value?
It's measured flat.
Did I go through my email to Dave Weiss or DITRH or the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon and Zodiac Clock app channels on YouTube in regards to everything that dies on its arse as a result of R dying? I think I did actually read it out. I don't think I'll do it again. I think I did do it. Did I do it? Am I imagining that?
I think you did yesterday.
I think I did.
In the pre-show, I believe.
Yeah, I think it might have been. Either way, I have already done it, so I won't do it again. But
Right,
basically,
once you negate R, the circle is broken.
the question I got from DITRH was in regards to somebody using an alternative curve maths formula and slightly opposing the 8 inches per mile squared. I've seen this come up a few times in comments, but my response was to say it's all based on R. You've got to have an R value, and we've debunked it, and then list off all of the things like we're doing now. Axial rotation. Are you going to need radians then? That's a shame. Well, that dies on its ass before we talk about non-inertial spinning reference frames. Where's your R value coming from? Watch the tumbleweeds. No R value then.
To that?
Go ahead, whoever that is.
It was me, Stag. From last week when now Virus was saying that he could get the radius R value from a different method. That even that method goes back to begging the question because he just plugs it into a circumference calculator. So how do you even know there is a circumference to calculate?
Spot on.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that
You've got
the-
to assume a
Because
sphere
you
in
have
the
a
first instance.
calculator.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they have a calculator. They named it Earth curve calculator. Therefore, every time you calculate, you get Earth curve. There you go.
But before that, I think Stagoli's saying, well, before you even do any measurements to derive R to formulate a curve calculator, you've got to beg the question and say, well, I'm now going to be measuring it with the assumption that I am measuring a sphere to begin with. I am going to be measuring it as a sphere. So I think Stagoli's point is that even prior to anything being done, you're still going to have to beg the question. And he's absolutely right.
Correct. I agree. Good one.
Yeah. How many times?
Yeah, we
have you
never
asked
really
Virus?
got.
Go ahead, Stagoli. It's your point. Feel free.
Oh, sorry, Chocolate. I was just saying that we never really got resolution on that argument last week. I think he started referencing or something like that. But that is, you were leading him to that, and but it never got said that even if he has those, so he was taking the one angle at one distance and then moving out like a mile, taking another angle of Polaris. You do all that. Get the numbers, get the values, plug, and then he plugs it into a circumference calculator. It's like, dude, you don't see that. It's just begging the question. It's nuts.
No, he
And
does see that. It's his trick. He does see that. And between all his high-pitched screaming, I couldn't understand the word he was saying anyway.
So
Yeah,
is he saying that he can measure the R value based on looking at lights in the sky and their rate of change?
Yeah, he's assuming a 90-degree angle to Polaris and then moving backwards. Wow. That's what he's doing.
So he is assuming he's on a ball and he's attributing all of that change to curvature of the land he's on.
Correct.
And nothing
Well,
else.
that's how he knows. That's how he knows he's moving backwards on a ball because he's moving backwards on a ball.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah, but he
correct.
denies it. He denies it.
Right.
He said, I never once said we're on a sphere.
But so let's just do I just give props again to Stogoli because this is his point. But yeah, this is exactly Stogoli's point. The first step in any claim to be proof of a sphere will always be to assume a sphere first.
The circumference, hey everyone, the circumference of their equator line is based on their R value. That circumference of their equator line is only there because of their R value. Everything starts with their R value. So anyone that's matching anything to the globe Earth circumference will have to first produce a radius measurement, which they won't
Ouch.
Ooch, that's a problem.
What? No,
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 you
no.
can
It's
back-
not-
you
They
can
have
back
one of
with-
those.
You can
Yeah,
back
Arwin.
with them.
Hello. Go ahead, Arwin.
No, no, no. Did you summon me? You use my terminology, equator length, yeah? No, first you measure the equator length derived from the celestial orientation, and then you establish that it will have to be a radius, right? It's interconnected like a circle. And you then,
Are you being Baldwin now?
yeah, duh, you're using my
okay.
terminology.
Hold on, Arwin. You
Can
haven't
I
actually
just be Adam?
Hold on,
and address
hold on,
it?
Adam. Hold on. Baldwin hasn't actually overcome the objection yet. So the objection is the presupposition before making that derivation of the celestial bodies, which I'll let slide in this instance, just for the example. So, other than your assumption that that celestial movement is occurring on the outside extremity of a sphere, Arwin, you haven't actually overcome that objection. That's the main objection in this case. I wanted to see how quick you could overcome it. You haven't yet. I just want to point that out.
But that's what you do afterward.
What? So you're saying my overcome is to say, no, I'm going to assume it's the outside edge of a sphere after I've got the averages of the celestial movements. Yeah, that's not going to help you, Arwin.
Well, you don't need to consider it to be that in the first instance. You just take the derivative from the celestial orientations. You don't have to think anything about it. You can still assume it's just random lights in the skies, but this is how they're ordered. And then you have the equator length. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
you turn that into a radius.
Okay, that's fine. So this non-existent arbitrary circle on the ground is just a circle on the ground now. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't do anything for a sphere, though, does it? If it's just a circle on the ground, that's the averages of the celestial movements across the ground, and then that point gives you a circle. Yeah, so that proves sphere how? When you haven't begged the question? You haven't, Arwin. You haven't got to it yet.
Well, it has an element that is integral to a sphere, and that is a circle.
So beg the question. Okay. Yeah, see how quick this is
Oh.
ending. Stogoli, kudos. Yeah, it's always worth
The
remembering.
begging the question is afterward.
Yeah, you've got to beg the question though, and it's one of those things that when I first discovered this, it's like you start pointing out left, right, and centre because everything's based on a begging the question of a sphere, and sometimes you forget. You know, you still want to unpack the arguments, but it's always good to go back to grassroots, eh, Stag? Just begging the question.
That's right, man. All they do is calculate. And when they say that, you know they're begging the question.
Yeah, Baldwin's interjections are going to be a lot shorter now that you've reminded me of that.
Aw.
Just tell them to skip to the end where you're begging the question.
Yeah, just
No,
skip
but
to
I
the
have
beginning.
Look,
Skip
I
to the
have,
bit where you
guys,
say on a
as Baldwin,
sphere.
I have no objections to you saying, yeah, or you end up presupposing a globe. That's fine. I just want to be very specific that in the establishment and the measurement of the radius, the begging the question comes afterward. Right? I take
No.
pride in that. You
Well,
can't
you're-
tell us that we're presupposing it before we engage. That's not true in this case.
Well, you're completely in line with just Phil because that's what he says. That yes, we presuppose what the Earth is. That's how we come up with the model.
After
Well,
Adam, I'd like
thanks,
to take the
Just Phil.
step.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Baldwin does not associate with him.
So
So,
the actual quote was, Nathan Oakley says, we presuppose the R value. Pause. Well, yes! End quote. Phil Bell.
that one is good.
That's great, man. Oh my
Great.
god.
Without any irony in his voice.
You know-
So he doesn't know how ironic it is that he says that.
Yeah, because he didn't realize, like, for years we've been telling these guys, these clowns, that that's what they've been doing is presupposing. getting them
do you
to try to say that. And then
do you know
he
who the
comes
first
out
to
the
do it
gate
was?
like, hey.
Do you know the pioneer of this? I'm sure the pioneer is actually Quantum Eraser. Before I get comments from Quantum Eraser saying, no, it was obviously me, right? Don't want to hear it. As far as this story is concerned, the pioneer of this is Betty Van Velsen. And she did it with GeoStreber. And one of the formulations that he presented on screen, I think it was Boltzmann. I can't remember. It's not that relevant. But there was the R value in it. And Betty said, where are you getting R from? And the response was, and I quote, "We are presupposing this R." End quote. GeoStreber.
But why is that shocking? They always say that.
What?
We all know we're on a sphere.
Yeah, presupposing this R.
GeoStreber actually said that.
Yes, he did. That's a
Well, someone
verbatim
said it
quote.
before him, but I'd like to go after Adam gets his 2 cents in.
Just to go to the presupposition of where this claim is, the presupposition is to assume you're on a ball. You then assume that if you look at Polaris in this case and move south, that the change in altitude angle of the star is attributed to, like I said, rotating backwards. So that's its only cause. That is a measurement. You can measure that angle change. It's the presupposition that angle change means angular change of the ground. From that, what is it, sort of 69 miles or something per degree. You can then pre-assume that by 360 to give you a circumference value, which you can then calculate your R from. But I challenge Owen, it all begins again with a presupposition you're on the ball.
Hold on. Yes, that was beautifully detailed and absolutely correct, I might add, Adam. However, what Arwin's saying is, right, in this process where the mathematical presupposition comes first, which is what you're pointing out, Arwin's saying, no, but the in-the-field measurement, that's gathered by elves that don't even know what the measurement's for. So we get the measurements
Hey, don't
first.
mock my people.
But because they go and get this measurement of a star dropping towards the horizon as they move away from it, they're not making any presuppositions and they're making the measurement of it. So the presupposition, therefore, comes after. How can you call it a presupposition? It's not pre anymore. It came after. Right, Arwin, it's crap.
It's a double blind measurement. I like it, Owen, yeah.
That's
Crap.
right, the double blind presupposition.
You're a bugger.
All right, Nathan, I've got a picture of Master P. Tell me when you got that.
Okay, let's have a looky. Assume I've got it up. I will in 10 seconds.
I was just going to say, it wasn't, begging the question wasn't so bad when I thought I could measure to a geometric horizon, or that the horizon was geometric. You know, it wasn't so bad to beg the question then.
I've got it up now, 10th, so we're all sorted. Good point. Indeed, father of a stolen child. It's far easier to say we already know we're on a sphere if in the back of your mind you're under the assumption that it has actually been measured, and that measurement would require a geometric horizon, and you don't have one anymore, so you can't measure a sphere, so presupposing a sphere is in no way justified anymore. Go ahead, 10th, your presentation. Parallel sun raises up.
No, it's Eratosthenes one. You see that? With
Yes.
the globe?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, Adam, for setting it up so beautifully. You didn't even know what I was going to do, but this is there's nothing new under the sun, as it's been said. So Eratosthenes did this already. The well at Cyan at the equinox, no shadow. The pole in Alexandria was slight shadow and 7 degrees. So we assume it's a sphere, and we're going to come out with a circumference. So this trick has been going on all the time. He assumed the shadow was caused by the curvature of the ground rather than on a flat plane and the angle of the sun to that pole in Alexandria, where it's not directly over 90 degrees. So this trick is old, not new. Virus fell for it.
Wait, so if I replicate this on my dining room table, have I proven that my dining room table is a sphere?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. No, you can see it done. You can put a couple of lights up, move the light along, see how the shadow moves on a flat surface and induce the same effect. It's only
Dr.
the
Zach
assumption
did
of
it.
a
Right.
spherical surface that gives
Only
you
if
the
the
measure.
table is inside of a planetarium would that work.
Thank you,
No,
Arvin.
Dr. Zach did it, Arwin. He takes it. He's got little batteries or screws, I think it is, and he takes the light at the top, yeah. And if you pre-assume you're on a ball and take those measurements, he mathematically proves that that tabletop is a ball.
Bob's your uncle.
No, it would be a ball projection. Let's get it right.
No, it would be a ball. It'd just have the effects of curvature collapse when you actually measured it. But, you negate the curvature collapse by assuming an R value for the table, assuming that when you move back, it's actually caused from the curved surface of the table that you haven't got. So, that's all fine and dandy in Arwin world, isn't it?
That's not fair. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to use my
It's not
imagination
fair.
against
So I'm going to label this show the one where Baldwin takes a beating.
Meanie.
I've noticed your titles. It's pretty funny.
What, you like my friend's
You
titling
can't
structure?
use the curvature collapse in an example to prove why a
well-
table is actually a sphere. That's not fair.
It is fair. Don't have to like it, Baldwin.
Good old curve function collapse. I like that one.
Yeah, there's nothing more irritating than hearing your own example parroted back to you in a way that debunks one of your own claims. Very, very frustrating, even for Baldwin. And he's playing this character. He's not actually going to lose any sleep over this.
That's right. But it comes with being an actual baller zealot, you don't lose any sleep anyhow, because in the end you always know that at least the Earth is a ball, no matter what.
We can find that out from...
That's the warm blankie.
Is
keeps
that
them
true?
comfortable.
John, hold on. Let's get an opinion from someone who's at least got the memory of being a anti-flat earther reasonably fresh in their mind. Is that true? Did you lose any sleep over this stuff? He's probably dealing with a nappy
Me?
or something.
Well, when I was not acting
Not
like I
you,
was a
or
baller.
when
No,
John,
but
you
back in the
thought-
day, I did not lose sleep over the idea that there's something wrong with the Earth. It might not be. We have all the data about how the space and the ball Earth is, right? I got onto that. I didn't lose sleep over it. I lost sleep over the realization that everything we get taught is basically a mock-up lie. That was the part that really made me restless back in the day and made me forget. Right? Not the mechanics, That's just secondary to that detail, to the teachings that are wrong. That was the
Like
shocking
a
part.
baby.
Ask someone else a question, Nathan, for Arwin to answer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if John's free.
Yeah,
Are you free,
the
John,
real
or are you
John, yeah.
changing a diaper?
No, I'm here. I just thought that was a good answer. But yeah, I used to get really irritated and have long nights of typing in people's comments.
Perfect. Yeah. Go ahead.
And can I ask, just out of curiosity, did you feel like that was getting you somewhere, or like did you feel like that was being productive, or after that did you just like I guess you couldn't sleep after that, or what was the psychology going on behind you when you're just typing away at comments?
I wanted to believe that that everybody that disagreed with it was stupid and lying. And I thought if I could just expose them for lying, everything would be okay again.
Right,
But
like
But I
they're
guess my
tricking
question
you,
is
right?
why would you think like, okay, so there's this group of people on the internet that are lying about this particular subject. Why did it irk you so much? Like, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, why did it irk you so much that you felt you needed to interject yourself into this?
Because I thought I met, that we could measure curvature. I thought we could measure a sphere. I thought, that'd been done. You were arguing with facts, I thought.
Can I answer the question too from my experiences?
What, again?
Because
Again?
what?
Hold on. Just 1 second. Who's presenting?
It was just me. Just to, I'll put it in the chat in a second. I'm just trying to find it. But this is the setup that Dr. Zach does, where he it was screws. Look, put screws on, draws it all out, takes the measurements, measures the length of the shadows. Look, and goes on, does the maths. Like I said, and demonstrably proves that flat tabletop is a ball.
Yay.
Right. But I never personally engaged in like going after flat earthers, right? Because on a visceral level, I would feel that there's something really wrong about me and not them. But I can imagine that if you cannot detect this on an intuitive level when it happens, you will go after them as a pure projection effort because they basically prove to you everything you've been taught is a lie. And you can't accept that. So you're going to switch it around and say, no, everything you're saying is a lie because all of that I got taught can't be a lie. And so you keep in that projection mode. I personally never went there, but I've seen a lot of people do go there.
John, who was your main target? I heard you say that you used to go after John the Morgile.
Yeah, because he had a lot of the videos he did was talking about celestial movements, you know. So that kind of made him an easy target when you're begging the question of a sphere. If you can, imagine the celestial sphere, then you know.
Like how you said, imagine.
Yeah, because it's pieced together from observation. It's not nobody's ever observed the celestial sphere.
Yeah.
Does other John the Morgile know this?
Oh, I'm nobody to him, probably. Just a faceless troll.
Did he ever respond to you in the comments?
I usually when I commented, I never went back and checked them. He may have. I'll go see if I can find my old account and go looking.
I mean, it's just such a useful resource because if he's anything like me, he will remember your comments. If they were as insightful as I would imagine they would be, based on my experience and interaction with you as a flat earther, I would imagine that your comments at least once or twice would have invoked a reaction. And those things, they're kind of, normally they stay with you. You know what you've done. People's memory isn't that bad, so I would imagine he will remember. And I if he does, I'd be really intrigued to get his thoughts on it. It's a shame you never left me any comments, but there we go. Yeah, if you're listening, or if somebody can let John the Morgile know that we've been discussing him, that'd be really helpful. Could be a useful resource. We'll see.
What's his YouTube channel? I forgot.
The Morgile.
I was just trying to get a plug in there for him.
Yeah, I was going to do it once this air cleared. So yeah, exactly. Shout out to the Morgile. Go and subscribe today to his insightful videos. Been around as long as I have, if not longer.
Nathan, can you put up the slide to Master B, please, once it comes?
Sure. Okay.
Celestial sphere, imaginary.
So done, yeah. That didn't take long.
Well, that was quick. Shall I take it up again?
Something to present in a minute there, Nathan. Just give me 5 minutes, okay?
Okay. We've covered distance to the sun, axial rotation, and Earth-based variety, Earth curvature, horizons that are physical. What we haven't covered is distance to the centre of Earth by way of a self-perpetuating molten iron core. Any evidence thereof?
I saw this movie last night called 2012 where the iron core was melting and the whole world was destroyed. So there's an iron core because it was in a movie.
Any actual evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hold on. The actual evidence that we went to the moon was on TV. So if that's believed, then why not this movie?
You got to have R, Neil. You got to have R in the first place.
Well, as you bring it up, Neil, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon, i.e., any evidence that we could have a sky vacuum to travel through to reach the moon to dupe people on TV, when the gas we're breathing would all be capable of expanding into the availability of volume that would be that sky vacuum, and we'd all be dead if it was the case. I.e., is there any proof of a sky vacuum? Space.
Well, if you don't have the firmament as a dome, yeah, then you have an area for the gas molecules to go.
Yeah, the fact that we're still breathing negates the whole notion that there's a vacuum when I go outside and look up.
But there's a
Vacuum.
constant. No, what about a constant? It's constantly producing this oxygen from ground level. Constantly. That's what I heard.
Ground level.
Oh,
Constantly
right.
producing and
Yeah.
going. So if it's constantly producing, it's blowing right by us and we're breathing, but it's a constant thing.
Yeah, it would be
Was
greater
that
than...
the
I mean, it would be exponentially more than hurricane-force winds coming up from the ground continually to negate the entropy increase that would be the gas filling the space and still maintaining anything that was breathable. You'd literally have a hurricane of gas going past you continually.
you beat
You know,
me to it by like 2
That's not the
seconds.
first time I've heard that argument before. And I said the same thing. Like, what do you think? There's just like a big fan underneath us just blowing air up? Like, the world doesn't work like that. They were like, no, for real. I was like, no, that's not how that works, man. Get out of here with that crap. It's crazy.
Any evidence of a high-speed fan in the center of Earth?
No, we've got plenty of gas cycles, and in order to have anything to do with gas and pressure, we need containment. It's just that simple.
So Nathan, what would you consider those people that come up with these ideas? They just ballers or anti-flat earthers?
They have an oscillating fan, Neil.
I think we've got people generally have got amazing brains, and when you put up against the wall, in this case with a contradiction, you're gonna find explanations that can work around it, and in so doing, you're gonna have bits of that explanation that are pull up or take apartable, whatever the word is, by us. And an example of that would be Andrew Thomas Young. He's detailing how you can refract a horizon with a geometric value of R with terrestrial rates that are varied based on whatever you need them to be varied on. Well, he still needs R. And in part of his explanation, he details how the apparent horizon will be visible and geometric at some stage. Until now, we have considered the point X as the geometric horizon. You're like, oh, right, so it's just a consideration that you're going to need to measure to move the horizon to a non-geometric position. Well, that's his wonderful, beautiful mind as a person figuring out a problem that needs a solution. You could say the same about dark matter. You could say the same about a whole number of things. It's just squaring the circle, my father used to call it.
Well, what else are you going to do when what you're actually doing is measuring a flat plane? You got to take geometric considerations, right? Because you got to consider that it's a ball, even though what you just measured was a flat plane.
That's such a beautiful way of saying begging the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Considerations.
Let's take in some geometric considerations. After saying all of this mathematical calculation has been done on a flat plane. How precious.
Just in case I get any cocky comments, my dad saying, how am I going to square that circle, was in reference to him programming on a computer as opposed to being a Freemason. Just want to drop that in.
Well, you could always use your brick analogy to gain favor.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's that?
What is it?
Yeah, what is that?
Turns out that there's this magic speed
But seriously, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, what's that again?
I'm being asked. It's not my claim. It's somebody else. Any
Oh, okay.
globers
All right,
want to
then.
tell us what gravity is?
How can you assert Earth is a mass with a known density if you don't know the volume of it?
Can't you just use an R value to derive the volume?
That's a problem.
Why would that
Balls
be
in
a problem?
shed. Is that not the purpose of balls in a shed, really?
Balls in a shed. How is good old Cavendish doing? It's been a while.
Oh, here we go. This sounds science. What was that? Cavendish?
You see what you did, Adam?
Yes. The balls in a shed is the way I describe it.
Just not got enough drama. A long time ago.
Well, there.
Go ahead.
In a shed, far, far away.
You got it. Stood a man
a
looking
total
for a telescope.
recluse claimed to have done stuff, and then a priest came along and verified it.
But how can you figure out the density of Earth like he claimed that he was doing if you don't know the volume because you can't measure the radius?
You don't. You don't. And this cuts through the crap real quick, doesn't it, John? And I love it. I love you for it. Exactly. Every single one of these arguments, you just cut through the crap really quickly by pointing out, all right, center of mass 1. You're going to need a radius for that.
Yeah, that's the Einsteinian gravity. It has Earth as m1, and in Newtonian it has Earth as m2, and both of them are assuming radius.
Bye-bye, gravity. What about any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Is it you, Adam, that wanted to present something before I move on?
I think that's me. No.
No, it's
Is it?
Brian. I think he's just getting ready.
It's me, Nathan. I'll be a couple of minutes presenting it now, so I'll
No
kind
worries.
of switch topics a little bit.
Let's just rattle through the rest of the housekeeping questions. I think there's only one more. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope, want to hear what Brian says.
Perfect. Brian,
No.
floor's all yours. Did you say you need a couple more minutes, or it'll take a couple of minutes?
No, it'll just take a couple of minutes.
Okay, you're on.
Okay,
Ready when you are.
I'll go ahead with it. Okay, thank you. Okay, last night I went on to Brandon's, and there was some. I don't even know the claim that was being made. That's how little I know about it. But there was some claim being made that's based on something that Ruhif has done. I'm just going to get out of this a sec. Now, basically, Ruhif, this is a panorama here I'm going to show in a second. From Mount Canago across I can't remember the name of the ocean or the sea or whatever, to land across the way here on a lot of mountains. Now, basically, Ruhif took some part of this and then, I don't know, counted pixels, whatever stuff did. So I went in there and I tried to get some information. I'm just going to blow it up a bit here. I went in there and tried to get some information, right? Last night. I'm feeding back on someone there. And I got some information originally when I first went into Brandon's about the distance to it. But I was trying to find the information of, and Adam would remember this, I was trying to find the information of from the shoreline that we can see to the peak of the mountain that's been claimed to be thousands of feet behind the Earth curve. And I got some information then on that. But then Ruhif came in, and I asked Ruhif, and he wouldn't tell me anything. And then Jem Panda jumped in and helped them not tell me because they didn't want to tell me because they knew I'd debunk their nonsense very easily. So I ended up getting, with Gleam telling me stuff that was confusing the matter. And then they joined in, or other people joined in, that was completely confusing the matter. Because I was being given, what was wrong was I was being given a distance from, I was looking for the distance from the visible shoreline here to the peak of whatever mountain they were claiming, right? Because we can see all the way to the shoreline. This is taken from 9,000 feet up in Mount Canago, right? And we can see all the way to this shoreline across here. So I wanted to know, okay, so what is the distance from that shoreline to the mountain? to the peak of the mountain that's been claimed to be thousands of feet behind the curve, right? And they wouldn't give me the information. Glenn tried to give me information, but he was giving me information that was based on where the cameraman was to the nearest shoreline, which would be the one in front of him, right? Which was not what I was looking for. So I had to go. So I ended up having an argument, and I even had an argument with Brandon, because Brandon wasn't seeing what I was talking about at all, and he was saying I was being triggered, and I was just trying to get some basic information, and no one would give it to me. And I knew why they wouldn't give it to me. Ruhif knew why he wouldn't give it to me, and Jim Panda knew why Ruhif wouldn't give it to me. And that is because I was going to completely destroy their city claim. So this is the panorama, right? That their section. Well, I don't even know their section because I paid no attention to it, because it's just they're using this. As Quantum Racer said, he said it's just Blackpool Swan Part 2.0, because they're doing the exact same stuff, right? So this is the panorama. I'm going to make it even bigger, right? This is the panorama, right, across that was taken from Mount Canago across to where. To all the land across here, right? Now, this is the extent of it here. Now, I pointed out, I said, we're looking at the shoreline of Marseille. I said, are we looking at the shoreline of Marseille in that photograph? Because I asked for information, and I was told, go off and Google it. Download Google Earth, all this rubbish. No one would give me, they wouldn't, Ruhif and Jim Panda would call me an idiot. They wouldn't help me with anything. I said, it's your claim. I said, you're the ones making the claim. I must ask for some details about your claim, and you won't give it to me. And I knew why they won't give it to me. But so they said, get Google Earth, blah, blah. So, okay, I went off, I opened Google Earth. Marseille, this over here, this is the Marseille region over here, right? So we're basically seeing the shoreline of Marseille. These are all man-made structures all along the water here. Now, there may be a bit of inferior mirage or something as there always seems to be at the shoreline area. But all along here, these are all I'll just make it bigger, right? These are all man-made structures all along here, right? And I think I haven't looked now. I haven't looked, but I don't know. This is a wind farm of some kind here, it looks like. This is 156 miles away to Marseille, right, from the photographer's position. The photographer, according to their globe mathematics, their geometric horizon has to be 116.19 miles away. So this is over 40 miles further than their geometric horizon, right? Yeah, absolutely destroying their claim, and he didn't want. Look at all these man-made structures. Ruhif was trying to, like, in the after. I didn't get to even go through this on Brandon's show. It was in his after show. I ended up arguing with him about it again, and I was pointing out about Marseille, but it gets even worse because if I go down here to, I'm looking for Mount. I'm just going to have to zoom out. Mount Pouget, wherever that's gone to. It's somewhere there. I find it here now. Mount Pouget. It is a bit awkward to find Mount Pouget. It's close to. It's close to. 1 second. Just give me a moment here. Mount Pouget. It's close to Marseille. There it is. Mount Pouget, right? Mount Pouget here, right? I'm going to blow it up a bit, right? Mount Pouget down here, right? If you do the hidden value for the distance to Mount Pouget, which is 160 miles, and then you do what they were doing, which is angular size change calculations, right? Right? If you just do the hidden value to Mount Pouget,
Hold on.
on their globe,
Sorry. You said if they're doing angular size change, you said they're measuring by pixel. Did they take a theodolite out there?
I don't know what they're doing. They're just making a claim about a particular place. Now that claim is already debunked by Marseille, right? Anyway, it's debunked from there's no geometric horizon. Anyway, but I'm just pointing out something here that completely destroys them. Mount Pouget here, I'm going to show it on Google Earth, right? There's where Mount Pouget is. I'll see if I can just zoom in a bit. Right? Mount Pouget is not too far back from the coast, right? So it's close enough to the coast. This over here, that's all Marseille over here, right? There's Mount Pouget over here. So it's not far back from the waterline. Mount Pouget isn't. Now, the thing about that is this. Mount Bouguer, if you take their maths and take their hidden value, right, their geometric hidden value, and that would mean Mount Bouguer should only be 132 feet above. I think it's 132 or 135 feet above the waterline, right? Now, that is a problem because there's objects over here along the shoreline here that are as high as that and higher. This is Mount Bouguer here. And if we did what they were doing, I'm just destroying, this doesn't matter, but I'm just destroying their silly claims. So if I just go into the angular size calculator, I'm after losing it. I'm after losing the angle, but the angle is tiny. The angle to Mount Bouguer is like 0.0000 something. I may as well deal with one in here, right? Angle, degrees. So size 132, and it's 160 miles to. I'm just going to get the right. So 160, right? It's going to convert length miles to feet, right? 844,799, right? So distance 844,799.9, right? Calculate. Yeah, it's 0.00. Right, I'm going to zoom in. 0.00895525. That is the angular size, according to their nonsense, that Mount Bouguer would be if their globe claim was attainable. But this is Mount Bouguer in the photograph. So I don't know what they're. The only reason I'm showing all this, it doesn't really matter, is that basically what they're after doing is they're after taking another much bigger image, which obviously this is a huge image because it's a panorama, right? And they're after taking some part of it and claiming some mountain in the background without adding any visual effects like visual occultation or anything as optical drop, anything, right? They just stated, supposedly Ruhif is stating, and others are joining in with him, that some mountain is thousands of feet below the curve. Now, how can these buildings here, right, be in a place that's 156 miles away when they should be well down behind our globe, our geometric horizon that doesn't exist? And how can Mount Bouguer be only 132 feet? Right, if that's only 130 feet, I'm just going to zoom out, right?
The bit,
You're
right?
frustrating me. I don't like it because you're going on a ball with them.
No. Well, yeah, no. It was funny last night. There's two bits I want to address. The first bit's in terms of what QE's saying, and I think what Nathan was about to bring in. Yeah, we've not even got to this bit of destruction with it, which is they want to take angular size as demonstrated there. And the bit Nathan's saying is, have they measured these angular sizes? No. And this is what I was challenging them on, Nathan, before we even get to that bit, is what they're trying to do is take an orthographic understanding and then apply it to a photograph still. They're trying to transpose those two sets of maths, which don't mix. And that's what Gleam was showing with some of the optical citations. So fundamentally, I'm not going to, as Neil says, I'm not going to get on that ball with them, because the first thing they're trying to do is conflate things that don't mix, which is the maths they're trying to mix. Secondly, is what you said at the beginning, Brian, the basic numbers I took, and that's when I just started laughing at Jem and that, was the viewer height, the distance to the mountain they were claiming, and that huge distance across the sea. Now, the killer is their geometric horizon should be at 116. The figures I managed to get out of them was it's about 160, 170 to the shoreline and 200 and a bit to the mountain in the background. So that means this is another black swan, because their geometric horizon should be blocking 3/4 of the way across that sea. And we see to the shore. So
shout out to Godzilla37, says Canada owning the chat this morning. So have some of this Canadian money and stand in awe of its incredible spending power. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Godzilla, and massive thank you to both Brian and Adam for making that presentation possible, along with all the interjections that we got from a few other people on the panel. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow, and I'm sure we'll discuss this imagery a little bit further. However, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell, so a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!